Hello, everyone. Here we are at week number 6 in Science 200. We're going to continue using the Deepwater Horizon oil spill as an example this week. You'll be putting on the final touches to your information for your research project. And with that being said, let's see what we've got going on. So last week we talked about biases in scientific research. One thing to look for in determining whether there is bias in a study is where is the money coming from. So if a private company is funding your research, they probably want you to have a particular viewpoint when you come out at the end of your research. Now, if you're a good scientist, of course, you will say that you're going to get the information that you get, you're going to get the data that you get, and that's all there is to it. But, people can be swayed by getting money. And that's in any walk of life, of course. But there are other types of bias. There's the bias of the researcher, like what you expect to happen. There's the bias of the study itself and all the participants. And that's why you have something like a double-blind study where neither the researcher nor the patient or the client or the subject, whoever it is, knows what treatment is being given. And this is very common in clinical trials of all different types. You also learn some more about the Deepwater Horizon oil spill and how there was bias and how some of that bias was overcome by looking to government experts in order to figure out how to stop the oil spill from continuing. You will see we're going to continue with that this week. So this week you have discussion board postings. And this is important because now you're going to share with the whole class what was the most interesting thing that you learned about your research topic. Electric cars, conservation of species. What else do we have? Ocean acidification, GMOs. Wow, we had a lot of GMO presentations. Genetically modified organisms in the form of foods, really, is where y'all are mostly headed. So what was the most interesting thing that you learned about your topic from your own research that you did? And why is it interesting? It's probably interesting because it was something that you didn't expect. But we'll see what you come up with. And why is your topic relevant to you? Okay? So in your initial post, that is what you're going to tell us. That is not one sentence. That's at least a paragraph, right? So answering each of those questions would be at least one sentence. So make sure you cover the information thoroughly. In your response post, you are going to look at what the other person posted and tell that person what you think is interesting about their topic. And so, for example, if you read someone else's post where they worked on GMOs also, maybe they learned something different. Maybe they had a different experience with it than you did. So you can talk about that. And also you're going to talk about what further questions you have about reading about their topic. And that's always interesting too. So we're giving some feedback to each other about the different research projects that you have embarked on this term. In the Deepwater Horizon oil spill example, back to the textbook, we have more information, and it's mainly about the ecological damage that is still happening right now. And here it is, 2023, 13 years out from the oil spill itself. What kind of ecological damage happened and what continues to happen? There are still effects of it. And we will never know the extent of the effects of this oil spill. So you're going to learn more about the ecological damage to the whole Gulf of Mexico and even around on the other side, the Atlantic side of Florida. We found effects all the way out there. So work in your Sumo web text for that and answer the questions. Your planning document, I've given you feedback on your rough draft. This week I will be grading your hypothesis section. So once you get that, you can put together your whole final version of the written portion of your project. After this, you're going to be making slides for an actual presentation to me to me, and speaker's notes for this presentation. But this week is do your final written version of your project. Make sure you go back and read my comments. Make sure you go back and look at all the feedback, especially that overall feedback section on any of the graded items, because I put information there. All right, and I mentioned in the next 2 weeks you're going to be working on your actual presentation for your project, including slides. You can do this through PowerPoint. I had one student use Canva. That was pretty cool. You can make PDF slides. You can use Google Slides. I'm sure there's other software out there that makes slides. But anyway, most people use PowerPoint. And you're going to be making speaker's notes, and we will talk about that. I'm not sure if it's next week. I think it's next week. But I will be talking about that in more detail then. Okay? And my tip of the week this week is to proofread your work. This will be especially important when you get to those speaker's notes for your presentation. Proofread your work. Now, some people are really good at proofreading, and some people are not. But here's a tip to help you. Read your work out loud to yourself. You don't have to do this with anybody else around. Go in the bathroom and read it to yourself. And see if it makes sense, see if it reads well, and see if you've got any errors in there. Also, when you type, a lot of the time, whether you're typing in Word or whatever, little sections and little words come underlined. That shows you that there may be spelling errors or grammatical errors. So watch out for those if they pop up. And of course, fix them if they do. Sometimes, especially in science, when we use a passive voice, which we have to because you never say I in a scientific journal article, ever. So sometimes we use the passive voice, and that always gets red flagged by grammar software. So anyway, if you need anything this week, please email me. I'll be glad to help you. I'll be glad to clarify anything that I have written in feedback. When you get to the point where you're fixing things that are where you need help in your project, so please do email me if you have any questions. I'm here to help you, and I'm willing to help you, so please let me help you, okay? With that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week this week.